and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for me to show you my Gameweek 5 Wildcard. Now, whether you're on a wildcard right now or not, I haven't fully decided yet, but I think this video is going to be super useful to try and help you build towards a team that will be good for future game week. So even if you're not wildcarding, you probably want your team to look a little bit like this. And if you find your team doesn't look like this, then maybe you do need to wildcard. So if you do enjoy this one, drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's have a look at this excellent team for Game Week 5 and beyond. Alright, so we've gone slightly over budget on this team for the 100 million budget. If you've got a little bit more money in the bank, you're going to be able to afford this quite easily. But we may be able to make some changes to make this a little bit cheaper for those of you guys on a little bit of a tighter budget there. Let's start off in goal though, guys, with Leno. Yes, I am finally saying Leno is okay to go for because we've got that Man City and Arsenal game out of the way. We already know Leno makes plenty of saves, but we've got some really good fixtures coming up for him. We've got Luton, Crystal Palace and Sheffield United in the next 4, which is really, really nice. And add save points to potential clean sheets, and I feel like maybe we could see some really decent hauls from Leno. He's definitely one of those goalkeepers with a really high ceiling. He can get those 10 pointers, 11 pointers very easily just by picking up save points, getting those bonus points for Fulham as well. We're also going to see Palhinha continue to play for Fulham now. He's going to be back playing for Fulham from Game Week 5, so that's going to be very good to help keep a few more clean sheets as well, because Palhinha is definitely their best defensive player outfield. Maybe Leno's the best defensive player full stop, because he does make so many saves, doesn't he? So, like the look of him, I think he's worth going for just to pick up those save points. Even if you lose your clean sheet, you're still probably going to get a few points from him, which is definitely very decent for 4.5 million. In defence, guys, we have got Ben Chilwell. He's probably an optional player in this team. I'm sure a lot of us are kind of put off a little bit by Chelsea more recently, but Chilwell is still playing as a left winger rather than a defender, which is positive. We did see a little bit of creativity from him in that Forest game, despite the fact that Chelsea were unable to get any points in that game. We've got some good fixtures coming up as well. Bournemouth up next, and we've got Fulham and Burnley after the Aston Villa game as well. So really nice fixtures for Chilwell going forward. I don't know if I'd want to go all in on Chelsea necessarily, but if I had to pick just one Chelsea player, Ben Chilwell in the defensive position probably would be that guy. But at his price of 5.8 million, maybe he's an optional pick there. Estupiñán is also probably an optional pick, but I just want him for that Bournemouth game. That Bournemouth at home game, you really do think is going to spell a big score for Estupiñán. And in Game Week 4, he almost picked up the 6 points with Newcastle scoring right in the last couple of minutes of the game. So we could have seen, if not for that Wilson goal, we could have seen 3 returning games for Estupiñán in 4 matches, which is really, really nice for his price. And we know he's got super, bags of attacking potential. And you feel like against Manchester United, a team we're maybe not quite convinced by yet, maybe he could do the business there as well. But that Bournemouth game is one I'm really tempted by. However, if you are not tempted by the fixtures, you are worried about the difficult fixtures against United, Aston Villa, Liverpool, that's completely fair enough. And an alternative to Estupiñán for me would possibly be Ruben Dias, if you can afford him, a little bit more expensive. He should be nailed on for Man City, picking up those clean sheets against the likes of West Ham, Forest and Wolves. But also John Stones could be back after the international break. He seems to be fit and healthy now and almost ready to return. By the time the international break is over, we're probably going to see John Stones back in the Manchester City starting 11. And I feel like he's 5.3 right now, probably will drop to 5.2 by the end of the international break. Maybe he's actually worth going for as a kind of a cheap-ish way into the Man City defence with a little bit of attacking threat as well from those set pieces. So yeah, John Stones, a potential alternative to Estupiñán or Chilwell there as well. I'm going to finish off this defence with Udogie, Sheffield United up next, Luton in a few weeks as well. We know now that Udogie has bags of attacking potential. That's 2 assists in 2 for him, which I'm sure Udogie owners are going to be very, very pleased by. He's going up in price as well. People seem to want to get on this defender. Sheffield United is a good opportunity for a clean sheet as well. So I think Udogie could become a really, really useful kind of defensive asset going forward, and a really decent price at 4.7 million still to this day. So definitely a player who should be in your thoughts right now, and a player I would be including in a wildcard team. I understand you are worried about the Arsenal and Liverpool game though in the upcoming fixtures, but we have got cover on our bench, which we're going to speak about before too long. Now in midfield, we've got to include Heung-min Son, haven't we? How could we not include him after his amazing performance against Burnley. That kind of ability to play on the counter-attack really, really benefited him. Lots of space in behind in that Burnley game. And if Son continues to play as the central striker for Spurs, and after that game, I feel like there's a good chance Son could continue to start as a central striker and be the new main man, maybe even on penalties as well. Suddenly, he's going to become a really good option. Heung-min Son could become what we hoped Richarlison would be, except even more clinical, even better striker there. So that could be huge, particularly with the really nice fixtures coming up. We've got Sheffield United, Liverpool in a couple of weeks. You can imagine Son would exploit the space in behind against Liverpool. Then we've got Luton after that and Fulham as well. So good fixtures for Spurs and very good fixtures for Son. So I feel like if you're on a wild card, he's got to be in it right now. Next up, Marcus Rashford, and this is probably going to be the most controversial pick in this team. I would go for him personally, but I understand if you guys maybe are not so keen on him. I just feel like the next two games really suit him. So similar to Son, we saw Son do really well on the counter-attack against Burnley. We've got that Burnley fixture coming up for Rashford and that Brighton game as well. Brighton still struggling a little bit defensively, so that could be a good opportunity over the next 2 game weeks. After that, I feel like you could definitely afford to sell Rashford. Maybe to a Maddison, or if you already own Rashford and you want to get Son in soon, Rashford to Son in a couple of game weeks' time could be a really, really beneficial move. But I like the Brighton and I like the Burnley fixture for Rashford first. So I'd want to have him for those. I think he can really get back to his best, what we saw last season. And I'm hoping that's going to happen in the next 2 game weeks. I'm trying to predict future points here rather than just looking at past points, I guess. We've got Saka up next against Everton, Spurs and Bournemouth. You know that's a good trio of fixtures there. Everton still struggling. Bournemouth, still conceding goals as well. And Spurs are always liable to conceding the odd goal under their new management, aren't they? So yeah, Saka, a super high owned player, a player I would continue to own, pretty template, pretty normal player to go for. Yeah, just keep with him, stick with him. He's doing absolutely fine, isn't he? Bruno Fernandes up next, so a fourth really expensive midfielder here. We have been able to manage to do this roughly within the budget, so somehow managed to get in Fernandes into this team as well, which I'm pretty pleased about. We've got Brighton and Burnley next, as we know. Bruno Fernandes is just, his underlying numbers are just so good right now. They're just so phenomenal on penalties as well. We've got a few penalty takers in this team, which you'll see by the end of it. And yeah, just definitely a player that I would have. Not necessarily just because he scored points, but also because his underlying numbers are good, and it looks like it's going to continue. He's playing really, really well at the moment, and I feel like without Luke Shaw in the team, without Mount in the team, that's allowing Bruno to be even better. He's really playing at his maximum potential right now, which is definitely going to be good in those easy fixtures. And let's finish off this midfield with Mbeumo. Like I say, another penalty taker. This guy is just doing damage every single game week. If you don't own him, you're just in trouble. And I know that because I don't own him, and he's caused me a lot of trouble so far, whether that's jammy penalties, 95th minutes goals. He just does it. He's just a good FPL asset right now. He's doing really, really well, and he's got a tough fixture against Newcastle next, but I wouldn't let that put you off. We saw that Brighton were able to score a couple of goals past Newcastle, and then after that, Everton, Nottingham Forest. These are the fixtures we dream of, really, aren't they? So Mbeumo against those teams, whether he's scoring from open play, whether he's playing on the wing or as a central striker, or whether he's just scoring penalties, they all count the same, guys. So, yeah, get involved in those Mbeumo points if you haven't been doing so already. Erling Haaland up front here. No surprise there. West Ham, not the easiest fixture. We have got some good fixtures after that. But, it's Erling Haaland. We saw what he did in game week 4, didn't we, against Fulham. 3 goals and an assist. He's back to his absolute best. I don't think anyone is going to be able to doubt Haaland anymore. I know a few people were saying, well, he hasn't scored in a few competitive games a few weeks ago. I feel like that's gone out the window now, hasn't it? He's going to be probably the top scorer of the Premier League once again this year. It's just what he does. Let's finish off the attack here with Julian Alvarez. So, yes, I've gone for Alvarez in this team. The reason I've done that is because I want to get more Man City attackers. Man City are just too good. They're scoring too many goals right now. It's difficult to get Foden in if you want all of the other midfielders, although technically you could maybe go Rashford to Foden or Rashford to Maddison, I guess, is the other option with Rashford. But if you want to get involved in the Man City kind of attackers, then I feel like Julian Alvarez is possibly the way to do it right now. Maybe some of you guys have different opinions on that one, and I think Yohan Wissa you can do for a similar price. You can go for Nicholas Jackson if you really want to as well. He's got good underlying numbers, but he's lacking a little bit on the finishing side of things. So yeah, if you've got a little bit more budget, you can maybe make that upgrade there. Maybe need to make a downgrade elsewhere. You know, if you want to take Rashford down to someone else, you know, Rashford down to Maddison or Foden, and then maybe you can afford to go Alvarez up to someone like Gabriel Jesus. That would work really well as well. So there are different options there. I think there's a few flexi spots, and I feel like Julian Alvarez is one of those flexi slots alongside Rashford, Estupinian, and possibly Chilwell as well. Maybe you could change up the goalkeeper a little bit. But going on to the bench, I feel like I'm reasonably confident about this bench. This is probably my dream bench right now, and it's Areola, who, yeah, has a couple of difficult fixtures in the next two. But in a few game weeks' time, I believe he plays Luton at home, I think it is, and that is the same week as Leno plays against Chelsea. So you've got a little nice rotation there between Leno and Areola. So Areola is going to be able to come in and be beneficial to you. But if you are looking to save that 0.1 million, maybe you could downgrade Areola to Turner. Turner's still looking pretty good as well, so he's definitely an option there if you want to save that little bit of cash. But I've gone for Areola in this team just because that rotation, when Leno plays Chelsea, Areola has a good fixture, so you can use both goalkeepers there together. We've got Archer, of course, scoring a goal and getting an assist from the own goal as well against Everton in game week 4. He's looking good, like he's ready to go. He started off his Sheffield United career really, really nicely, and I think going forward, he's just going to be the 4.5 million forward to own. We've got Botman, who rotates really well with Udogie, so as soon as Newcastle's fixtures get good, it's the same time as Udogie's fixtures get bad. So a Botman and an Udogie rotation works really well for those slightly cheaper defenders there. Botman is still kind of technically a little bit injured, but by the end of the international break, he was kind of left out from Brighton as a precaution. He should be, by the end of the international break, fully fit. We don't even need him until game week 6, so he's going to be fine by then, and it's going to be a really nice, cheap way to get into that Newcastle United defence, who, despite some difficult fixtures and some goals conceded, their numbers defensively are not actually that bad. So yeah, I would be tempted to go in on the Newcastle defence, whether that's through Botman or, you know, Fabian Schär or Trippier, or maybe even Nick Pope as well in goal, although quite expensive, Nick Pope, isn't he? And we've got Baldock here as well, just a 4 million defender that I think is probably the best right now of all of the 4 million defenders and the kind of newly promoted teams with those 4 million defenders. Looks like Sheffield United are the most likely to keep a clean sheet each week. So that's why I've gone for Baldock there as well. And that concludes the team. I'm going to throw the captain's armband on Erling Haaland. Of course I am. But I'll put the vice-captain on Son there. I guess maybe as a differential, Heung-min Son might be a fairly popular captaincy for new owners as well there. So that could be kind of interesting. And this is kind of what I do with my team. If I was to go for a wildcard this week, I'm kind of undecided, because I think if your team is totally different to this, it's nothing like this team, then that might suggest that you need to make a wildcard decision this week. If your team actually looks kind of similar to this, and my team is kind of similar to this, then maybe I don't need a wild card. But it's definitely something to think about and compare your team to something like this, which I think is a little bit more optimal. But we're going to find out exactly how optimal it is, because I'm going to check out the Fantasy Football Hub AI tool to get a more objective view on this team. Okay, so I have loaded the team up in the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool, which calculates how optimal the team is based on underlying numbers, fixture difficulty, historic data, and so much other nerdy stuff that is difficult to think about. I'll put it that way. But yeah, it's given it a really high rating, 98% in fact, which is actually really, really decent. Some of the players it doesn't like so much are Udogie, Chilwell, and Estupinian, and I can kind of understand why, with Udogie's difficult fixtures and, you know, maybe Chilwell and Chelsea not performing quite as well as expected. Estupinian's got that difficult fixture against Manchester United, but the 4.8 predicted points against Bournemouth looks really, really good. The midfielder is class. Like, this midfield is actually, you know, really, really, they're pretty much the best midfielders you can go for. I think the only other players, if we just have a look at the 4-game week prediction, the only other midfielders I've kind of missed out is Foden and Maddison. They're the only other midfielders with high predicted points that are not in this team, which is, I guess, good again. If we go to forwards, it's difficult to fit in some of these players because of the price, but if you can go for a Jackson, Jesus, Watkins, they've got slightly higher predicted points than Alvarez, but yeah, they're quite a lot more expensive. So it's kind of a trade-off there that you have to make sometimes. So yeah, team looking really good according to AI as well, which I'm very happy about. It's always nice to get that, you know, that support from, you know, something that's a little bit more objective. If you guys want to try this tool out, you can actually now get access to the My Team tool and all of Fantasy Football Hub's other tools, the Opta stats, predictive points, everything. You can player comparison, fixture ticker, whatever. You get access to all of it in full, the full versions for free right now. They're doing 7-day free trials, guys. So make sure you click on the link in the description if you want to try out all of these tools in all of their glory, how they work properly, the full versions. Yeah, try it out, guys, because I feel like you're really, really going to like it. And if you do, then yeah, maybe you can get the full subscription and pay for it after that. But look, there's no pressure to do that. Just try it out, the full version, see what you think. But yeah, if you do that, guys, make sure you let me know your team ratings. Is anyone at 98% or more? If you're a little bit lower than that, maybe that's a suggestion that it might be time to wildcard. But I would be curious to know what kind of ratings you guys are currently sat at. It's good to get an idea, because I think my own team's around 96% right now, and I want to know if that's kind of like above average or below average or about right. So yeah, let me know, guys, what your current numbers are there. Be really, really good to know that. But that is the team according to AI. Pretty good. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy this one, please do drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Plenty more Game Week 5 content to come. We've got a lot to think about and a lot of time to think about all of it. So we're going to be doing all of that over the international break. The FPL content is not stopping. Make sure you check out Fantasy Football Hub, link in the description. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.